Hello folks, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In this video, we will be discussing a current affair topic presented to you by your faculty, Sushma KP. So what is the topic that we will be looking into today? The critical importance of Census 2027. We were to have a census scheduled in 2021, but we did not have, and we are going to have it in 2027. So what is the big deal about this? The most important thing is the census of 2027 will involve a lot of things that was not there in the history of Indian census. What are those? How important are they? How important is census to a country like India? We will see in the course of the video. Look at this. The national census provides the fundamental statistical basis of all other types of surveys and analysis in the country. In other words, the census is a reality check for the country, a look in the mirror without which a self-portrait is not possible. Based on what are we telling that this is a reality check of the country, we will be seeing in the course of the video. First and foremost, understand our census data were started, that is the idea or the concept of conducting a census was started in your 1800s. That is irrespective of who the ruler was, who was having control. But from 1800s, we've been having this concept of census. Now, one thing with respect to your census is it has been going on. It's conducted every 10 years. Now it hasn't had a break, but it did start having a break. That was in your 2021 when we had to conduct the census. We couldn't conduct it because of your pandemic. Now post the pandemic, yes, it's been almost 5 years and now they have further postponed it by telling it 2027. Almost 6 years break. Why? This is a very long break. So much so that even countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh haven't had this much long of a break. Why is this much long of a break there? We will see further. Which Ministry of Home Affairs spokesperson has even held that? See, for example, if we have to conduct a census, for that a lot of primary school teachers are needed. If we take all those manpowers in here and put this, right, there will be a dearth there in education. And also one of the main things, if you see during a pandemic time, one of the major sectors, if I'm going to put it, which was getting affected was that was your education sector. So us pulling up them all right away and doing this would have created a dearth in already much of exerted place. So we wanted to give in the right time to adopt, adjust. So our present census will be conducted in 2 phases, 2026, 2027. One important thing about this particular census is 2 important things will also be done, or this will have a most politically debated and sensitive topics also coming under this census. One is your caste census data. Second is your delimitation exercise. Okay. Look at this. The census for the very first time in India was conducted in 1881, and since that point of time we have been continuously holding it for every 10 years. Census was due for 2021, but again it had to be postponed because of your pandemic, and it's been, by the time they conduct the census, it's almost going to be 6 years. This much of a break is not even seen in our South Asian member countries such as your Pakistan. Why this much of a big break? For which spokesperson of Ministry of Home Affairs has held that COVID disrupted all sectors including education. Around 30 lakh enumerators are needed for the census and most of them are primary school teachers. Conducting the census post-COVID could have disrupted primary education immensely, and this is why the long break is what they have held. I told you this particular census is very important because there are certain things which are for the very first time in history of census India we are doing. And second thing is it has the two most highly politically debated topics, that is your delimitation and caste census. Delimitation, again, the Lok Sabha seats and the legislative assembly seats were all frozen. Now this will alter the seats. One of the prime important things, if you see with respect to, let's say, your population control measures, it was held that the states of India have to effectively undertake population reduction. The southern states effectively implemented this, northern states did not, as well as southern states could not implement it. Now, if you perform a delimitation, that is, if you are going to rearrange the territory of India or constituencies based on the population, it is like the northern states which did not follow up on population control will get higher share of seats compared to the southern states who very much made sure they will bring into look and put a cap on population explosion. So it is almost like you are rewarding bad behavior. So that is one of the most sensitive topic, and another is with respect to your caste census also. The impact of this is with respect to caste censuses, because both are highly politicized topics, the voters, some demographic voters might also give data which would be suitable based on the particular caste. Possibilities are that, you cannot deny it. Yes, so that is one of the implications. One more important thing, when I kept telling, for the first time in the history of India census we are doing is, this census will, the data will be also collected digitally, that is on your mobile application. This is happening for the very first time in the history of Indian census. Because the caste and delimitation are heavily politicized and debated, certain demographer, they will be more lenient or more leaning towards give out the data which will affect the quality and credibility of the census data. What is the importance of census? Now we have been speaking about how, what changes the census will have. What is the importance of having census on a country's economy and policy making? First and foremost, if you say what is a census, it is an enumeration of all Indians. It has a lot of things about your marital status, with respect to your age, with respect to your education, language, employment, disability, migration. So the list is ever ending. Understanding? Now, when we said it is extremely important for your economy and policy makers and policies to be done, this is almost so much so important that this is the future of India is decided on the census. What is that so important that we are telling it that way? For example, all the inflation control interest rate of the banks are based on your census data. How? For example, your RBI decides to raise or cut interest rates based on the importance. Let's take one example. If you see recently, 46% in your consumer price index also will speak about, 46% average pay Indians are spending on food only. Understanding? So, if your RBI is going to make any more policies or with regarding to food, with regarding to the spending, purchases, expenditure, it has to keep a tab on all of this. This data is possible only if they have not any mere surveys, but a proper, complete, holistic census data. For example, let's say with respect to migration, that again that changing food pattern, again that living pattern, again that spending pattern, again that employment pattern, which means People should have more money to spend. Let's say reality is people have no money to spend and government keeps on increasing, making sure that there is no money available in the public hands. Then it is like putting double pressure and burden on the people. They should not be too polarizing things, especially for a growing GDP country like ours. For that not to happen, they need to have effective census data. RBI bases its decision on the retail inflation rate in the country. What is this retail inflation rate in the country? We will see. Look at this presently. Your RBI's MPC Monetary Policy Committee meeting update CRR cut to aid transmission, improve credit growth. RBI Governor Sanjay Malhotra announces repo rate cut for third time by 50 basis points. GDP growth forecast for current fiscal is 6.5%. How are they able to predict all of these? Census data is extremely crucial for this. So, what is your retail inflation rate? The rate at which the general price level in the economy went up from one year to another. Understanding? So you need the base years. You need, when I say basis, you need the changes to be depicted as to this year pay. It was from this year, how many percent did it raise? So how much percent people are spending? What percentage of allocation is necessary of this? This will again be based on your consumer price index, which is most considered like a basket of essential items. Which were like when I said food inflation is what food pay they're spending average by 46%. On an average, an Indian is spending 46% of his money for food. Understanding? Where else is your data of census very much required? On migration, urbanization, and governance. If you see with respect to India migration pay, we have the least amount of inward migration compared to any country in the world. One of the lowest. You see, the migration is from one rural area to another rural area, one urban area to another urban area. And this will lead to consumption change, this will lead to employment change, this will lead to the changes that the policymakers have to do from a social security perspective also. If these data are not available with respect to your census, then the determination for these people will become even more difficult. Then people having to subject to this inflation will become extremely harder. Largely, see, if you see population projection, it is based on your birth rate and death rate. But more than that, one more important factor that affects that is your migration. Understanding? See, according to India's migration, if you see, intra-district, within district migration contributes 62%, inter-district contributes 26%, whereas interstate migration is just 4%. This is why I mentioned is one of the lowest with respect to the countries. And constantly, if you see with respect to urbanization, increased growth of slums, etc., if you need a holistic, when we say smart city, mobilized city, we have to be on a sustainable manner. It has to be a all-rounded good. You have to keep migration, population, and all the land use patterns, etc., consumption patterns, are all to be based on effective assessment. For that to happen, they have to know how much the land can handle, how much people are in the land. For that, what do you need? Census data. Niti Aयोग has even held that 60% of India's GDP comes from the cities, which contribute to just 3% of the nation's land. So, how much effective has to be our assessment? One thing is, there are no alternative to census. Yes, you may have surveys, but the surveys are not usually considered as foolproof approach. How can we tell that? One example is, according to National Family Health Survey in 2021, show that government claimed 100% ODF free villages, open defecation free. But reality is more than 30% of the households did not have toilets. There you see the drastic difference between, this was not any census data, it was a survey data. So now you know why census is more important. Now we have been speaking so much about census, we will see some key points with regard to census. Basically, what is census? It is the statistics on human resources, demography, culture, economic structure at local, regional, national level. The very first census in India was conducted in 1881 by W.C. Plowden. He was the Census Commissioner of India. In India, presently free independent India, who is tasked with conducting census? That is Office of the Registrar General and Census Commissioner of India under your Ministry of Home Affairs. All of this is in your Census Act of 1948. If you see the census, who can conduct it, union or state, it can be conducted by the union only, as it is in the union list of entry 69. If you see with respect to the census operation in India, it is carried out in two phases. First is house listing and housing census, and then is your population enumeration. Okay. So, census for India is much more than just merely noting how many heads are there. Understanding? Clear up until here? With this, we've come to the end of the content. If you like our content, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, share it along with your friends. Thank you.